This is Randy Lawson, and you're listening to the 3 Count Podcast.
Weighing in at an unbelievable weight that you might hate, but you can't even
Dang, high class, where'd you find that drag ball at?
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. But like every good Sherpa, which is what you will address me as, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. So it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. And the person that's entering the ring today, you probably have seen this man around. This man has got his own YouTube channel. It is fly because, I love watching his cover music. He's got tons of albums that he's put all over Apple Music as well. And you can go search every bit of it. The reason why he's on this show is because I'm a huge fan of his song, his cover, the thing that gets me out in the ring. That's right. Holodrive's, Danger Zone is what brings me in. So welcome in, Markus Wells.
What's up, everybody? It's an honor to be on the show. Thank you, Cliff, for being our Sherpa and guiding us up the mountain. I'm very excited to be here tonight.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. So I've been a pro wrestler now for just under 2 years, right? And I knew that I needed to have because my character, he's a mercenary and it was more military. So I was like, I need to have a badass song to take me out.
Yeah.
And I thought of Danger Zone. So I was like, well, Danger Zone makes sense because that's iconic. Everybody knows that song.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, but Kenny Loggins, for me, and I know a lot of people are probably going to be out there and be like, this is dumb. But Kenny Loggins, it's kind of a softer tone, right? And I was like, I need something with some metal to it, right? And
yeah,
and I just happened to just type it in. I put in metal cover, and then the song came on, and I went ballistic, and I was like, this is it. This is God tier to me.
Well, thank you so much, man. That's very flattering, and we're very stoked that the song got some good use. That song's actually quite a tale. That was one of the last songs that Holodrive recorded before the band ended up splitting up in 2012, and we never released it. We were getting ready to go into the studio for a new album cycle, and we were going to release that in between to kind of entice fans, because every tour, just something we started doing when we first got together, we always would pick a cover that we all agreed on. Whether it be just a super popular song that we all loved, or something where when they did this song, man, they didn't really have the technology or the tones that we have now. Maybe we could do this with it, or, kind of fit in a little bit more of a modern take in an older song. So we always like to mess with stuff. One of the first songs that we did was actually Laid to Rest by Lamb of God. And that's one of the things that kind of made us start coming up. So people dude, you guys sound just like him. And we're like, I mean, shut up, no way, but thank you. Come on, Mark Morton and come on, those guys are phenomenal musicians. I was like, but we did Kill Switch Engage's End of Heartache, and people just really loved our covers because we were meticulous about doing them to a T. Getting the guitar tones right and the drum tones right. And I have to credit my brother really big on that, because he was really big into the sonics, when it came to recording them and the way that we were tuning and everything. And we were coming up for the Untitled 2020 album cycle, and we had that tour coming up. So we're like, all right, well, new album means new cover song for the year. Because how that band worked is we would rehearse basically in January and go out on the road for the rest of the year. And then we'd start writing, and we wrote on the road, but we'd start writing usually about October-ish, try to go in the studio around November, December, kind of take the holidays off, record, kick out a new album the first year, and then new tour cycle. So we decided on Danger Zone, and we all sat down to learn that song. And that was in the late 80s, when songwriting, especially pop songwriting, did some kind of funny things arrangement wise that they hadn't done in music and don't do in music. It was this very small time period where they hit the verse 3 times, and they'll do a little bridge after the first chorus. There was these little arrangement things that are very different from what music had done to that point, and then where music went from there. So we learned the song that way, played it to a T the way that it was, and it just didn't feel right. We jam it, and we're all like, it's not really doing it for me. And then we get chatting, and hey, maybe we should like throw a breakdown in it and drop that third verse and just put a just heavy as balls breakdown in there, where I think that would be awesome. So we started playing with the arrangement a little bit. We changed the tuning of it and dropped it down to a lower tuning instead of playing it in the standard tuning. And we went into Wallace Sound Studios and recorded it with BJ Perry, who was in Port Huron at the time, who's since gone on to do I Prevail, and I mean he's done amazing things. Actually, I think they were just nominated for a Grammy, if I remember right. So working with BJ, man, like it was kind of when he was first coming up. It was a great team, man. We were all really excited about that release, and then we went out, did the tour and everything. Came back at the end of the year from that tour on the Einheit album, recorded that with BJ, and then we had some things happen internally to where one member wasn't able to tour for an extended period of time, and it just we were going pretty hot and heavy, and then I had an offer from another band, so we all ended up parting ways. And it's kind of a thank you to all of our fans for sticking with us and believing in us for all the years. We're like, let's just throw this up on YouTube for free, because otherwise, to charge for it or whatever, put it on iTunes, it has to be for sale, and you have to go through all this licensing stuff. So like, let's just throw it up on YouTube, and the fans can have it. They can listen to it when they want. And last I looked, it was over like I think 250,000 views. It's been up there for years. So, and people like you come across it and asked if they can use it. We're like, cool, but don't charge any money for it, because like you'll get sued.
Yeah.
So,
and that's like the wild part of it though. Like it's when I heard it, I was like, this is gonna go one of two ways, right? For me, especially like in the wrestling community, it's either gonna go off really, really well, and a lot of people are gonna get behind it, or it's just gonna fall flat, and I'm gonna look. It's just one wasted opportunity, right?
Yeah.
The moment that song like starts, right, because the crowd gets invested, and you can agree, right? The crowd gets invested right away, because it starts all quiet and you hear a wom wom, wom wom, and then right when that kicks up, right, do 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 do, like I am out of the curtain and everybody's just up, like they're just ready to rock, and it's like it's been crazy, because I've had like a lot of kids come up to me, and then we're talking like younger kids, like between like 12 and 14, that come to the wrestling shows, and they're like, what is this song? Where did you find it? And I'm like, well, it's on the YouTube page. Go check out Hollow Drive. You can listen to it there. And they get enamored. And like every time I come back to like a different place, whether like I'm in West Virginia, or I'm in Maryland, or I'm over in New Jersey, like fans are like, they see me, and I guess now like the track kind of gets like attached to me. But I'm like, yo, like no, like we got to pay homage, because these are the guys.
That's so awesome to hear, man, because like that's exactly what our intention was with what we did to change it. We wanted, because it's such a great song, and for like people that are like our age, we remember Top Gun, and it was such an epic movie, and all the scenes that was used for was like exactly what you're describing. It's those amped up, like ready to rock and roll, like all's on the line, and it draws you in. And as soon as that bass line hits, like you said, with that do 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 do, everybody knows it that's in our age group. But what's cool about it, and the way we dropped it down, we put the breakdown in it, we changed the arrangement to make it more modern, to appeal to a younger generation that doesn't know that movie, doesn't know that song. Because we always ask the question, and got asked the question a lot in interviews, would that song have been as popular if Top Gun sucked? Like if the movie wasn't good, would that song have been as awesome? Or vice versa. I mean, the movie being good, the song being good, but if one of them wasn't, like it wouldn't. I don't think anybody would have known Danger Zone if Top Gun was a flop movie. Right. I think that the epicness of the movie kind of helped. Kind of same with like Footloose. Like Footloose is a good song. It's another Loggins Messina song. Messina, which the underdog in that writing team, doesn't get a lot of credit, but he's the one that did all the music and stuff. Like he did all the guitars, drums, bass, arrangements, and Kenny Loggins just sang, which has got a great voice, and that's awesome. But that's a great writing team. They have so many hits. But Footloose, same thing. If the movie would have been a flop, would the song have been popular? So it's one of those things that we always kind of went back and forth with that. Like, because if Top Gun, like, if they would have not had the budget, you just saw the strings flying the planes around and stuff, because the film wouldn't have been good. Like, who knows? Maybe that song would have been a flop, you know. But that's really cool to hear that you got younger kids come up and ask about the song, because that's exactly what our intention was. Dropping the tuning down lower and kind of changing the arrangement was to appeal to a younger generation with something that came out in our generation that was such a great song. You know, I think that's pretty awesome that you have that.
So man, like, you know, we're talking about like great music and like getting crowds amped up, right? And so like one of like the benefits of like in the wrestling community, and just like in music and movies, right, and TV shows, they do it all the time, is like great storytelling. So like I'm curious, man, like what's been like one of your inspirations? Like what's keeps you motivated to writing stories? And then like how do you write your stories? How do you put people on that journey?
That's a very interesting, good question. Very good question. So what keeps me motivated and inspiration is kind of all in the same thing. Like when you're a musician or any sort of artist, I feel it's super duper important to just be open-minded. You have to be open-minded always, all the time, and listen. Inspiration's all around you all the time. Like I know a lot of writers that get stuck and have writer's block, and I've never really had much of a problem with that because I do a lot of different things. I have a lot of different hobbies. One of my favorites is I'm a huge motorcycle rider. There is not too many things that happen on my Harley, and just getting some wind therapy can't cure. So, you know, if I do hit a spot in a song, you know, where I don't know where to move forward or whatever, you know, usually taking a ride, or I mean, there's all kinds. I live in Florida now, so I mean, I can go fishing. I mean, there's the stuff I can do all the time, but you know, there's a process to it with the writing. You know, a lot of people try to force stuff. I don't ever try to force stuff. I try to let things just be as organic as possible. You know, and I've always said that ever since I started playing when I was a little kid. I just kind of, you know, I do my scales and stuff, and I let my fingers kind of start doing the talking, and you get kind of where it's second nature. Then once you do your warm-up stuff, it's kind of like shut your brain off and just go. That's when I write my best stuff. You know, that's how I would say probably 80% of my songs start. The other 20% is something pops into my head. You know, I get something stuck in my head when I wake up in the morning, or, you know, I could be literally out in the woods and the wind blows a certain way and I get a melody in my head. You know, a lot of us musicians are big on the voice memos on the cell phone. So like you sing your little melody, go back, try to turn it into a song. But most of my stuff comes from, you know, I sit down to play, I'll do my guitar warm-ups. I start everything with the guitar first, you know, I just my process. So I'll sit down, I'll do my scales, loosen my fingers up, and then just kind of riff for a minute. You know, I'll play some cover songs, some sections of songs and riffs that I like, and then something will come out of it. And then I'm like, I wonder what this will sound like to drums. So then I plug in, set my rig up, lay down the riff, put some drums to it, and then next thing I know, 8 hours go by. I wake up, my beard's 3 inches longer. It's 4 days later. So because the studio is just kind of a time warp like that. But yeah, I don't ever have problems staying motivated. I notice as I get older, you know, I've retired from touring back in like 2018, just because I toured from 2005 to 2018 professionally, doing like 280 shows a year, 10 months out of the year, all over the world. So you know, I did some time, which was awesome, man. I mean, it's great, but you know, getting older, you know, maintaining a relationship's really hard out when you're out on the road and you're not around. And you know, I had aspirations to, you know, settle down and start a family, and met a girl. I got married in 2020 to an amazing woman, and that's kind of changes priorities a little bit. So I'm not in the studio as much. I've also started my own business in the past year, so that takes up a lot of my time. But you know, I got a couple buddies I still get together with, and you know, we try to jam at least once a month. So I'm in the room with other people, and it's hard not to get inspired just doing that, you know. And I'm one of the type musicians, like, it doesn't matter what anybody's skill level is, or whether they're the best guitarist ever or they're just starting out. It doesn't matter. I mean, I just love being around it. I love music. I love sharing it with people. I love experiencing with people, because it's such a just massive bonding thing, you know. So yeah, it's awesome, man. And, you know, the fact that I've had the opportunity to be able to touch people with music and do it this long is kind of ridiculous. I mean, I never thought it'd go anywhere, you know. I mean, I started playing guitar because it was fun and it made me feel good. And, you know, I had a pretty rough childhood, so it was kind of an escape from all that. You know, I took took solace in the music, when bands like Stained were first coming out, and bands like Tool, and then bands like Slipknot and stuff. Like, I just dove into that, and it got me. It was in my head, but I was out of where I was. So, it was a saving grace for me, man. Like, I can honestly say, if it wasn't for a lot of those bands that busted ass to get that music to my CD player, I don't know if I'd be here today. And that is the answer to your question about motivation, is because I owe a debt to every single one of those musicians who work their asses off to write those songs and get those songs out there, and get screwed over by their record labels and take it on the chin. But it helps, man. That sort of stuff saves people's lives every single day. I know it saved mine. So is a thank you for the debt that I owe those musicians. It's my job to pass that along, because I had that done for me. So, no matter what happens, roadblocks get thrown in your way. If you got that in the back of your mind all the time, that's what it's all about, is pushing forward, because it's about the next generation and paying it all forward from those who did it for you.
Man, it's such a powerful thing that you're like talking about, right? Because and it's something like I know Fred Durst got it from somebody else, but I heard it from Fred Durst, right? Where he was talking about music is the soundtrack to your life. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like play it, and he said like play it loud, right? And so like I totally took that into like consideration. Like everything that I have in my life, like I look back and there's like some song that's always tied to it, right? Like I
Yeah.
remember days where like I would be, and it's funny because you mentioned a bunch of bands that I just totally like love, right? So I would listen to Seether, right? And I would just be kind of faded out, like listening to like Broken and hearing Amy
Oh,
sing in the
great
background.
song. Yeah. Great tune, man.
And then listen to Aaron Lewis playing Outside, and just remember seeing him on the stage and just like singing it in concert just on
Yeah.
his acoustic. And I was like, I just remember like all these moments like getting stuck, right? Like here's a person like I don't mention very often, but Nicki Minaj has a special place in my heart, right? I don't like all of her music. I'm just gonna be upfront. But there is something to be said that when the day that my daughter was born, the very first song on the radio was A Moment Like This by Nicki Minaj. So it's always stuck in my mind. It's always on my heart because it's associated with my daughter's birth. And I
Right. Yeah,
always
man.
think about that. But it's crazy because, like, whether you're listening to Corey and listening to the Iowa album, or you're going out and you're just listening to random tracks from him, like, all the music, like, it gets you through stuff. And you're right. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know, like, for me, like what made music so powerful and why I had to find something that I could relate, like the crowd could get related to, was because if it's not moving you, it's not gonna move them. And those iconic
Right.
songs are always the things that you have to look for to get people hyped into you, right? And especially because like even my character is like a comedy type character, right? Like he's like Deadpool meeting the wrestling world. And so to have something like this playing, like I come out and like I'm just very in people's faces, very brash and very blunt and very like humorous. And I think about like I go back because I'll sit in the back before any of my like we'll be talking about wrestling, right? And there'll be a period of time for like half hour where I'm just doing nothing but listen to like Hybrid Theory, or I'm listening to Americana, or I'm listening to Kanye, something from Kanye West, usually The Graduation. Just there's always something, like always music playing just to get me in the mode and just get psyched
Yeah.
into everything. And it's crazy to think about how those albums like really affect your life and just like drive you into wanting to be better. Because just like you, like when I first started trying to work on these promos and stuff, like I wasn't very good at it. And it was only because like I was forcing a character that,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
just like you
Yeah.
said, like you can't force it. So
Yeah. You
once
got
I
to let
kind of
it happen organically.
right, and so once I shed the skin off of like this, I got to be dead serious all the time and talk to people and blah 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 blah. I shed it all off and just like kind of let myself go.
Yeah.
Everything came naturally, and everybody was like, I don't have an issue cutting promos because I'm like, yo, like no, like I got this. Just go away. Just let me do my thing.
Right. Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
goes
No, I
back.
remember when we were doing we do a lot of interview stuff with all the bands that I've been in, and I always tend to be the one that I have such a hard time taking that environment seriously. I'm really proud of myself. I've been like super well behaved during this interview. Like I'm wearing pants. Like I mean, like I don't even need to, but I am. Like usually I'm the guy that's like in the middle of the interview, like after I just say some asinine stuff that has nothing to do with the questions that I'm asked, then I'll like climb the fence and just like leave in the middle of it. Like, so I always had that, you talk about character and organically, I just, what's the funniest or weirdest thing I could do right now? What's the thing I could say that would make everybody uncomfortable just to like, derail the say, well, dude, like you think about it, and same with the wrestling world, like shock factor, man. Like, that's what it's what people want. They don't want boring, like, oh, well, we studied Juilliard as musicians, and I'm classically trained, and I started playing Mozart. Like, no, dude, shut up. Like, how many beers can you drink? Have you ever done cocaine off of a pair of tits in a strip club? Like, you want rock star shit. That's what it is. It's same with wrestling too. Like you want Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania, like go crazy, gnarly. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it exciting, because people feel that in themselves. They feel like that. You could have the most introverted person ever, but they feel like that sometimes. So when they see that, it's exciting because it's relatable. That craziness. Yep. Also, what makes it relatable is for some people, it's shit they'd never do, but are massively entertained by it because they never do it. It's like it's so far outside of their comfort zone, but they're like, it's cool, man. I dig that. That's rad. That's like so outside of my world. Like, it draws people in, really ropes people in. Or at least that's what I try to tell myself to justify my behavior. So
no, for my character, like, because when people see me like outside, like I'm usually kind of like, kind of like this, kind of just like mellow, not really like, but man, like the moment like a camera turns on and tell me to turn my character on, like I'll tell you, like I cut this promo, right, and it's gonna be coming out soon. You guys will see it. It'll be on Facebook. It's not out yet, but I legit was talking about a friend of mine, and I was like, and don't worry, because sometime I'm gonna see you, and just like your masturbation addiction, I'm gonna beat it or beat it.
Nice.
And everybody was like, did he really just say that? And I was like,
you can't talk about masturbation now. It's not, you can, like, come on.
Can he say that? I don't think he can say that. I'm like, oh, I just did. And I'm just walking away because it was a great shot.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember when you first hit me up, because it was a while back where I think you messaged the band Facebook page, and I was the one that usually ran that. So I was the one that I think first talked to you, and you were interested in using the music. And we've had a lot of people hit us up about a lot of different tracks, using it for different stuff. Firearm companies using it for their videos of suppressors that they make, and a lot. It's we've had a lot of songs and a lot of really, really cool stuff. But we always try to like research, obviously, because we want to make sure what we're tying our name to is something we support.
Right.
So we checked out some of your wrestling stuff that was on YouTube and whatnot. We're like, dude, this guy, hell yeah, you could use it. Like, do whatever you want with him. This dude's badass. We liked your character. We're like, he's a mercenary, he's military based. Just, we're huge patriots. Our especially Hollow Drive. We were all about. I mean, our last album cover was Normandy Beach, and we always thanked all of our troops. We know if anyone was active military or former military, they never paid for anything of our stuff. They got everything for free: shirts, hats, CDs, whatever. We always take care of our military, because without them, we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. So, once we saw that, we're like, oh yeah, dude, like you use it. You can have all the songs. Use all the songs. So,
yeah, it was trippy. It was trippy to see, like, because it's been wild, right? So, like, to be fully transparent, right? So back in 2003, right, I used to wrestle at Northwestern College in Orange City, Iowa. And I knew this dude named Roman. And him and I were really tight, right? In fact, we used to do music together, but we were really tight. And then he left school and he joined the military. And then I left school and I joined the military. And then, like, it was like only like a year ago, one of our friends passed away, but a week later, he popped up on my Facebook page. And we both find out that we're both in the wrestling business, and he's like, his popularity is like through the roof, because he's former Green Beret, just dominating the wrestling scene. Yeah, and then he was like, "What would you do?" I was like, "Well, I was Intel." He's like, "Dude, that's awesome." I was like, "First of all, do not put me in the same category as you. That's not what we do." Like, you are way more badass than I'll ever be. But it was just so cool. So I definitely, when I find people who like appreciate the military, or even just like see that there's other military people that are like trying to reach out, like, it's cool that you guys are like so willing to like give back to like the troops.
Oh, dude, you have to, man. You have to. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff with politics that is causing a lot of divisiveness. And I think people are smart enough to where they'll come back around and they'll start to recognize the games that are being played and how the media is manipulating and whatnot, and all the propaganda that's going on. But there's the big anti-police movement that's going on right now, and BLM and all this stuff. And as a rule, I'm kind of old school. It's like no politics at the dinner table. You don't talk about politics or religion, especially more than ever, man. I don't engage in conversations about COVID. I don't engage in conversations about politics. And people are always like, "Why? That's super weird, man." It's like, one, the information we have, I don't think, everybody thinks that their information source is super pure and they have like a leg up, or they know more than somebody else. Or no, man, like we're all being lied. We're getting portions of stories. We're not getting the whole deal. And people who have a really hard time wrapping their mind around that. No, man, why would the news lie? What? The government lies? What? No.
I just tell people, I low key tell everybody, I was like, if you don't know, you need to live by you need to live by the rules of Dr. House. Everybody lies.
Oh,
Everybody
lies. Yeah. So, but I don't really engage much conversation with that stuff. Whether you like Trump, hate Trump, like Biden, hate Biden, that doesn't matter. Whether you're vaccinated, unvaccinated, which I'm not calling them. You're no longer the unvaxxed. The unvaxxed, I have a new name for this entire group of people. We're the pure bloods. We're the pure bloods.
I like it. I
You
feel like I'm
with your altered DNA, you call us the pure bloods. But no, I was just talking to my father-in-law about it. He's like, well, you never really brought this up. And I'm like, dude, I don't engage in the conversations because it just causes divisiveness. I don't care if you and I agree on politics. And if you're an asshole, I'm not going to like you. If you're cool, I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what color you are. It doesn't matter. A good person is a good person, and that's the focus, and that's what the focus needs to be. And I will, however, I do not condone or participate in any of the anti-military, anti-police stuff. Like, you got people that get up every single day, leave their families, go to the other side, the far reaches of the whole world to protect your families, and you're going to talk shit about them. Something's just not right about that. I don't care what your belief system is or what your issue is with it. Those people are heroes, and that's the way I'm always going to treat them. I know if I'm out to eat with my family or something, and I see a police officer walk in, or active duty military, they're not going to pay for a thing. I'm going to get their meal. I'm the type person that walking through Home Depot, if you're wearing your, Vietnam veteran hat, I'm sorry for taking up your time, but I'm going to stop you and shake your hand. That's just, it's about being a patriot, man. And we need more patriots. We need more people supporting that. And there's this very small group of people that have this really loud voice because they can manipulate the media. But I feel like the majority of us feel that way, and we're getting swallowed up by all this other BS. It's just, and that's what it is. It's bullshit. So, I try to actively do this, especially in public, so other people see it and set an example. I'm not a timid person like you, so I don't mind putting myself on Front Street, and if someone wants to talk shit, I think that a lot of people's problems these days is people have gotten really soft, and people have these inflated egos, and that happens when you don't get hard enough.
Right.
So, there's a lot of people that have never been punched in the face, and it shows. So, and I'm happy to oblige. I'm not a little guy. If you're one of those people, you need to be punched in the face, I will help you out. I do not have a problem with that.
It's funny because you mentioned something in there too, and I just want to bring this in, right? So you're talking about meeting Vietnam vets and stuff like that, and obviously shaking their hands. Like, I just ran into a Vietnam vet at the last show I was at in New Jersey, by the way. IWA, Vintage Pro Wrestling. Thank you for having myself out there. But there was a Vietnam vet out there, and I sat down with him, and I'm gonna say I don't know, because I didn't really get the chance to stick around for the whole show because it was a 2.5 hour drive. Like, I was trying to get back home, and
you're in Jersey too, so
yeah. So I sat down.
I'm just kidding. I love Jersey.
We'll talk about a whole nother story outside. But so I'm sitting down. I'm sitting down with this vet, and we're just sitting there just having a conversation. But it's two veterans having a conversation. And like at the end, man, I just bust out one of my 8x10s and just signed it. and just told him, I was like, thanks for thank you for your service and thank you for the support, and I just signed it and gave it to him. But it like, to me, like that's what matters. And what's funny is so we were talking about vices, right before we started recording. Yeah, we have conversations before the show, but we were talking about vices, and I was telling you about
We
my
were
hats,
talking
right?
shit about you.
We were talking about shit
All
about
of you.
everybody, every single person. But my craziest vice, right, and it's the wildest thing ever, and I'm sure you'll probably agree to this, but in terms of being a veteran, I think that there's like a pyramid, right? And so like the base is obviously going to be like the most, and probably like the most supported, right? So like, to me, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation New Dawn, Operation Enduring Freedom, like those guys, they're at the bottom. They're at the bottom of the pyramid. They're on the pyramid, but at the bottom. But as you go up to like obviously Desert Storm, and you hit up, uh, Panama and Grenada, and you start moving up, right? So to me, the peak of that, right, is World War II veterans. Anytime I see a World War II veteran, everything stops. I run to that person. I get a photo with that person.
Yeah.
I was like, because there's not that many left.
No, there's not, sadly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I go through and I'm making a point like, hey man, if it wasn't for what you guys did, I wouldn't be in position to be able to be in the military and serve. So thank you. And
Yeah.
I think for them it's kind of a weird, but to me, I'm like, this is the great. And I've met two World War II veterans, got picture with them both. And then when I was stationed in Hawaii, I met tons of, and I took it for granted because I wasn't thinking about it like that. But it was when I got out, I realized, dude, like this triangle is so much smaller than anything else.
Yeah, man. I met my first World War II veteran. I think it was June 3rd, 1983, because my grandpa flew in World War II.
Oh, nice.
So it was the day after I was born, and he came up to the hospital. So yeah, World War II veterans, absolutely agree with you. Definitely top of the pyramid. They're the rock stars. But yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, I mean, there's very, very few left. So, when you do bump into a man, like that's pretty cool, man. That's a great honor to get to meet somebody that fought in that war.
Yep. And I'm always hyped. I'm always asking questions too. Like I met a dude actually in Baltimore. He was a World War II veteran. He was actually in Pearl Harbor when it got bombed.
Wow.
And
Wow.
like, we sat down, had conversations. I was asking questions about like, was it really like as quiet as it was in December 6th? And what was this like? And what was that like? And I was just asking all sorts of crazy questions. And he was like very like his helper. She was like, don't ask him too many questions about that. And he was just like, no. He's fine. He knows what he wants to talk about. And this is definitely where we normally when you're helping people with their cell phones, you want them in and out of the store. We spent 3 hours talking about World War II.
Oh, that's awesome,
and
man.
He was just telling me all the stories about everything that he did when he was a part of Midway, and he was like all the conversation. I was like, bro, the knowledge I'm gaining right now just based on my favorite period of time. I was like, this is crazy.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. That's so cool.
But we gotta talk about, man, like this is a wrestling podcast. We've kind of taken this thing all over the place. We gotta bring this back around. So
my wife tells me that I tend to rabbit trail. I don't know what she's talking about.
Well, we'll leave the bread trails. We'll just Hansel and Gretel this back. But are you a wrestling fan? Like, were you a wrestling fan? Like, talk to us.
Yeah, of course, man. I came up. I grew up in the '80s, so it was when all the original WWF stuff was going on. And they were, rebranding every couple of years. But I grew up. It was Roddy Piper, Ultimate Warrior, Ric Flair, obviously Hulk Hogan, and Macho Man Randy Savage. Like, and it was also when boxing was booming too, because that was when Stallone was doing all the Rocky movies. So there was like, I was all about just fighting everything, Karate Kid, and I just wanted to beat everything up when I was a little kid. So, but yeah, I was into wrestling, so I loved watching it, and then got busy with music, and then it kind of came back into my life around the like the Big Show when John Cena was like first coming, and Brock Lesnar. Rey Mysterio and those guys. Rey Mysterio was my dude, man. Like the acrobatic stuff that he would do, I'm just like, there's no way I could ever do that because I'm like way too big for that stuff. But like a 619 move, I mean, come on, like awesome. Dude was just awesome. That very impressive stuff. And then one of our favorite road movies, actually, you'll appreciate this, was Ready to Rumble with David Arquette.
David Arquette.
Yeah,
Scott
and Oliver
Conn.
Platt. Yeah, Scott Conn. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we quoted that movie all the time. That was one of our favorite movies to quote. Just great lines in that movie, and then all the cameos from like Diamond Dallas Page and Booker T, and great talented guys in that. And then life landed me down here in Florida, and I've been living in Florida since 2017. And this is like the wrestling mecca, man. I mean, SmackDown right down the street. We got Monday Night Raw just up at Full Sail. So yeah, man. I get mistaken for a wrestler all the time. I try to keep myself in decent shape, but I'm 6'5", so I'm just tall, kind of big, weird looking dude. I get asked all the time, and it's always in the weirdest places too. Like I like being like a McDonald's bathroom, like and you a wrestler? I literally on the road. Like we were on a tour bus parked in the parking lot at McDonald's. We all stopped in there. I think the McRib was back. Where else do you go to McDonald's? But I had a dude literally follow me into the bathroom. He was like staring at me, and I was in there with just one of my bandmates, and the rest of the guys took their food and were eating on the bus. I was eating in the restaurant, and this guy was like staring at me, and I looked over. I was like, Matt, is that dude like eyeballing me? He's like, yeah, he's looking at you kind of weird. And then I got up and went to the bathroom, and he followed me in there. And he comes up to the urinal right next to me. He goes, "You're a big dude. You a wrestler?" I'm like, "No." I was like, why are we gonna fight? He's like, "No, man." He's like, "I love wrestling. I thought you were so." I think Roman Reigns, I get confused for a lot because it was just I'm a guy with a beard and we all look alike. So apparently, so it's like when I had it's like when I had my dreadlocks, man. Like you look like this other person with dreadlocks. Just because we have you look like Sonny from POD. I'm like, he's over a foot shorter than me, man. Like, no, I don't. Like, we do not look alike. But yeah, I've been approached several times about it. But yeah, I love wrestling, man. The strength, the skill. I mean, it takes a lot of work to keep yourself and condition yourself to be able to do that stuff. And I don't think a lot of people that aren't familiar with it. I don't think a lot of people understand the skill level it takes to pull off some of those maneuvers like safely. And like you guys legit get hurt. Like, I mean, you're throwing yourselves around and. Especially, you start getting in your 30s and stuff, man. You're not hopping up like you used to. That stuff.
You know what? I think it all comes down to like maintenance and like making sure like everything's like working right. Because I'm gonna boast about it, and there's no lie to it. You can watch it on my TikTok. I actually have a 48-inch vertical jump.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
We'll be transparent. It's a one-step gather, but nonetheless, like I got springs.
It's still super impressive. That's awesome. Yeah, dude, that's like I said, man, just the strength alone, and then the choreography in it, I think is just awesome, man. Like, those guys working together, putting together those routines and stuff, and how much of it's improv that they, throw together last minute, and just like you get working with somebody who kind of know each other and like get comfortable with like, yeah, I'll let you pull this thing off, like, dude, whatever, like, and they call moves that like they practice that they weren't going to do that they'll pull last minute. And I think all that stuff's super awesome, man. I mean, it's like I said, just the physical strength alone to do some of the stuff that they do, and then the acrobatics of it. I mean, jumping off the ropes and all that stuff. I played a few different wrestling events over the years, and I've got to watch them set up, which was really cool. I didn't realize that only wrestlers ever touched the ring. I didn't know that. I thought like a crew came in and built it. That was something new that I learned, that it's like the understudies of some of the guys that are on the show and stuff. It's the people that they're kind of mentoring. That's only wrestlers that put the ring together. Then seeing that constructed with the boards, old school boards. I mean, that's all like still kind of backyard stuff, how it's put together, and then the padding on top and stuff. Like I was like, holy cow, man! Like I had no idea that's what was under all that stuff. Like So it was pretty fascinating to see all that put together. And I tell you what, man, the wrestling community, like the actual wrestlers themselves, are some of the just nicest, down to earth people, like salt of the earth, like just real motherfuckers. Like, I mean, I've gotten to meet like obviously, like I said, living in Florida, I mean, tons of wrestlers live down here. I mean, Chris Jericho, The Edge, I mean, Triple H. I've gotten to meet all these dudes, and they're just so cool dudes. And Chris is awesome because, you know, I dig the wrestling stuff, and he's also a musician, so we have that in common. So, you know, anytime I cross paths with Chris, it's always a pleasure. So,
yeah, that band Fozzy, man, is so lit. Like and the fact that he's actually able to take his band on tour with him, and they go and do shows like right before like bigger show, like big wrestling shows. So like even just recently at Full Gear, like he had a show like in Minneapolis, and he had it that night before, and then he obviously had the big wrestling match the next night.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like that man is like a workhorse. Like,
oh yeah, dude. I mean, you got to respect the work ethic, dude. Like, just the energy alone, because they're both such high demand positions, you know, and you know, having a super successful, you know, wrestling career, acting career, and he's a phenomenal musician. He's got an amazing voice. I'm super happy to see. I mean, they've blown up over the past like 5 years, man. They that Judas song just shot him into the stratosphere, and I love it. I'm so happy for him. They're such a good band. The other musicians that he works with in his band and stuff, I mean, they're all really good dudes. So I think it's great that he's, you know, same with like, you know, someone like Corey Taylor, who's just a powerhouse. He's successful in so many different facets and gets the opportunities to do that. You know, it's awesome that he, you know, used his music career to set himself into a platform where he could, you know, he went back to his old band and then was doing split duty in 2 bands, and then making all these friends with the musicians over the years in both these bands, just relentlessly touring. Now he's got bands with all those dudes doing different kinds of music that, you know, when Iowa came out, like you never ever would have been able to tell me the CMFT shit that he's doing now would ever be a thing. I'm like, what?
Right.
No way. Like, because it's so metal, you know, but it's cool, man. Cause like you got all these different sides as a musician, you know, and that's something really relatable with me, because at this point in my career, again, I'm not on the road anymore. You know, there's been talks with a couple different companies and stuff about maybe doing like an acoustic tour, which I would really enjoy. It's something I kind of did back in the day. Whenever Howard Drive would take breaks to do like writing and stuff, the singer and I would go out and do acoustic tours. I loved those. I had so much fun doing those. So that's something I would definitely entertain, doing an acoustic tour, playing songs from all the different bands I've been in, mixing some covers in and stuff, and just doing a solo thing, just myself. That'd be fun. But more so what I do now, aside from just putting out my own creative stuff, is I do placement music, is what it's called. So I have different agents that I work with that will get offers from music supervisors for film, you know, television shows, video games and whatnot. And they send me this stuff, what they're looking for. And like, they know like what my wheelhouse is. But I mean, dude, I've done country songs. I've done straight up like orchestral ballad stuff. It's been really cool. I've grown a lot over the past few years as a producer. I've never been much of an engineer beyond being able to just like record my ideas for demo purposes. So like, because towards the last bands I was in, we all lived out different places, so we had to work remotely a lot. And
Right.
you know, technology these days makes it super duper easy, but I didn't really know a ton about any of that stuff. I mean, in my generation has seen the biggest boom in the evolution, all that, because when I first started recording, we recorded on tape, you know, and now, I mean, you don't even need to be on the same continent to record together. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, the evolution and all that stuff. But you know, I've gotten to know the different programs and stuff to where I'll do all my stuff in-house right here in my studio at home, and put everything out to everybody. I've been really slacking, and I've got like literally probably 100 songs just sitting there I need to finish. I'm always like, I always want to write, so I don't ever want to like go back. Like, so if I don't get it done in a day, I don't know, chances of me coming back to it, they're pretty slim. But you know, sometimes that's a good thing, man. You get to a point with a song, that we were kind of touching on this earlier part of the process and everything. Like, I feel like a lot of people try to force it just to get it done. And it's like, you know, I'm not about that. Like, you know, I'll go back and I'll delete an entire section of a song, or delete the entire song and keep some riffs, move some of those riffs into another song, you know, slice, chop them up. Or sometimes I'll just let them sit come back like a year later and take the song a totally different direction. I write, I'll get a song done and I'll go back and start working on like the vocal melody or, start doing lyrics to it and get almost the whole thing done and come back and check it a couple months later and be like, delete all of it. So I'm definitely my own worst critic when it comes to all that stuff.
Don't worry, man, because I'm in the same boat when it comes to like my character work and stuff and like things I'm going to say and things I'm going to work on. Because like I said, like when I first started this, it was like, here's this guy who's always like, welcome to command. You don't have a need to look around, so you're not going to, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I thought it was cool at first. And I was like, yeah, I'm this badass. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I hate this. Like, I was like, just throw it away, chief. We're just going to rebuild and just go from there. And I remember my trainer asking me too. He was just like, well, what do you like? What do you like? And I was like, well, I like Deadpool. I was like, I've always been a huge Deadpool fan. Yeah. I was like, I love this guys who just like talk shit just in general. And the crazy thing is I always tell people that my character is me cranked up to 100. And then you just add like Ryan Reynolds into it because like clearly that's Ryan Reynolds' wheelhouse. He just talks shit to people. But
effortlessly.
Effortlessly. Like it doesn't matter who he is, whether he's Van Wilder, Hannibal, right, from Blade Trinity, or he's Deadpool. It's the same guy, but he's really charismatic, and you
cannot skip over Monty from Waiting.
No, Monty. Yeah.
when you do the list, man, it bums me out because people do that. Like you can't skip over that character. That's one of my favorite movies that he's been in.
But do you know how many? Okay, Waiting. I know this isn't part of it, but do you know how many people actually don't know that movie? And that's what bugs me.
I do actually.
I love that.
I do actually. My best friend and I, we call each other Liz. My best friend, Steve. Him and I. Anytime we go out to restaurants, we always ask him, "Have you seen the movie Waiting?" Because like we know what y'all do back there. Because we've seen the movie. I want you to know I know what you're up to. So I'm gonna be nice to you. I'm gonna give you a super good tip, but don't fuck my food up. Don't put anything in it. So we ask all the time, and I would say 9 out of 10 people have never heard of it. I'm like, you work in the service industry and you've never seen Waiting. Like, this is sacrilege. You need to. This is blasphemy. Watch it whole night. Download it, stream it, whatever. Just put it inside. Watch it.
Yeah, I tell people all the time because, like, I was at a restaurant in Honolulu. I won't put their name out there so I don't get sued. Sorry. But the name of the restaurant just happens to be the same one as my dog's name. So if you guys know that, you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway,
trivia time.
Yeah, so I'm in a restaurant and we're sitting there chilling out, and it's like a lobster steak night, right? And the chef's like trying out this new like recipe, and it just didn't vibe with me, right? Like I ate it all, right? Because I'm like, I'm not sending this back. But when the waitress came to me, she was like, how was the lobster? And I was like, oh, it was okay. And she's like, really? I was like, yeah. I was like, it was kind of burnt. Like, I don't really, I know what burnt tastes like. Not like if you burn food, you know what it tastes like. So right. I was like, it was just kind of burnt. And then so the manager came over and was like, hey, I know you ate your food. You told the waitress that it was okay. I was like, yeah, it was burnt. That's it. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just burnt. And so he's like, well, I'll comp it down to a salad. I was like, I wasn't even looking for that, man. But yeah, we'll take all of that. And I remember my brother-in-law at the time, he was like, do you even know what that's supposed to taste like? I was like, bro, you could have told me that's exactly how lobster was supposed to be cooked, and I would have believed you. But I know what burnt tastes like, and it don't taste like that. And he was just like, he's like, oh man, that's so crazy. But I was like, I'm not sending this back because Waiting scarred me for life.
Oh, dude, yeah. Hey, all of us.
Yeah.
I have a similar story. I was at a steakhouse, and I have a really, really bad habit. I grew up really, really poor, and I put ketchup on steak. And I know. I don't even want to hear it. I've heard all of it. All the digs, I've already heard it. That's why I tell everybody, man. They was like, oh man, so I'm like, I get it. I understand it's bad, but like, we grew up poor, so we got like the meat that expired like 3 days ago, and just to make sure that it wasn't going to kill us, my dad would cook it down, so he'd slide this burnt car tire of a steak across the table, and the only way you could eat is if you drown it in ketchup. So now it's like those flavors just go together for me, Same like how people put like whipped cream on a shake, like they just go together. That's what it is for me. So I'm in a restaurant, and like kind of a fancier upscale restaurant and order steak, and I always get my rare. They bring it out and they're like, can I get you anything else? I was like, can I get some ketchup? And they're like, of course. I get the snarl, the judgment, and the chef comes out. Ashley comes out of the kitchen and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean to disturb your meal, but was there something wrong with the steak? And I was like, nah, dude. And I kind of told him like a smaller version of the same story, and he just kind of like, like, oh, so you're gonna judge me now? Oh, okay. So I thought, I did the right thing, because again, I've seen waiting. I know it goes on back there. So I followed him back there and I gave him all the goat.
Yeah.
We bend over, just put the balls between your legs from the balls penis showing game. I'm like, I can play waiting games too, bitches.
I know exactly how this works. Careful before I show you the bat wing.
Yeah, that's what I should have done. The veiny triumphant bastard stretched it out.
Oh man. So listen, man, like those are really kind of like all like the like portions of like the questions and stuff like I was looking for and just kind of wanted to ask. But we got to get into the second best part of this podcast. People ask me what's the first. I tell them it's the Red Dogs Power Rankings that you can find on our debate shows every Sunday or Monday, depending on when you want to watch it. But this is the 3 count podcast, 10 count questions. Marcus, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. Whatever's your answer, that's your answer.
Copy.
All right. So we're going to put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing. And here we go. 80s or 90s rock?
90s.
Favorite movie?
The Jerk.
Nice. Like, Sonic or Mario?
Mario.
Favorite color?
Red.
Xbox or PlayStation?
PlayStation.
Favorite video game?
Mortal Kombat.
Ooh, side question. Which Mortal Kombat?
2.
Okay.
Old school.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I rock that shit on my Game Boy so hard. That's why I got such strong thumbs these days. I'm a phenomenal texter because of Mortal Kombat on Game Boy.
You know what? Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, that's probably why. Because I'm always just like jamming.
Yeah, right.
My wife gets confused on why I'm just like. Electric or acoustic?
Electric. Actually, of some recent debate. I have a friend who's like, he's learning how to play guitar. He's an acoustic player, and I'm like, look, man, like I can sit down, I can hold my own against some acoustic players, but like I'm definitely an electric player because I love metal. I'm like, I ain't got time for all this sad country stuff, man. I just want to rip and shred.
Favorite podcast?
This one, duh. There's only one right answer to that one.
Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Ooh, oh man. Anyone?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a tough question. That is a super tough question. Kid Rock. I'm gonna go with Kid Rock because I think you would have a really, really good time with him. Kid Rock or Ted Nugent would be my top two. For 2 reasons. One, they're super duper fun people, and they're both Michigan people like me. So
awesome. Well, you know what, man? Like at the height, if I could get Kid Rock on the show, like that would I don't know, mind blown at that point.
No. When you get Kid Rock,
yeah,
show.
You're right.
Will it into existence. We're gonna stay positive on this one.
Yeah. All right. And last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person that comes on this show: favorite curse word?
Fuck.
Let's be real. It's got to be a good F-bomb, right?
It's so universal.
Right.
That's what I love about it. It's like fuck's kind of like dude, all about the inflection and tone, and means completely different things. You can literally use just that word in a sentence, and it means completely different things each time you use it. You can have an entire conversation with fuck. You know, like that's a universal word.
I tell people all the time, I was like, if you haven't checked it, I promote this video pretty much every time I'm on here. But like, if you haven't seen History of the F Word on YouTube, please go research it. It was like one of the first viral videos out there. Go check it out.
Fornication under consent of the king.
Hey, but what makes
that goes back to like Renaissance times.
Well, what makes it funny is that this video starts off with like the old like do 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 do, and then it's just it's some dude with a bad British accent. It's like, welcome to the history of the F word. It's like, fuck is
It's his
German.
first
We're
YouTube video
stricken.
ever.
I love it. It's so good.
I can relate. That's like when I started my YouTube channel, I didn't know it. Like, I don't know. I was not into it. I didn't want to do a YouTube channel. Like filming myself trying, like if you put a camera on me when I'm just doing my thing, then like I'll just be me. But when you like got to turn it on, I'm just like, say something funny, Marcus. My brain's like, say something funny. And I'm like, there's a disconnect. So
yeah, that short circuit. You're just like,
yeah,
oh God, I don't know what I'm doing.
yeah, that's how my YouTube channel was. It's like my brain's like, you're on the camera, don't say fuck. Whatever you do, don't say fuck. And I'm like, hi guys, welcome. Fuck. I mean, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Restart. Damn it. Do it all over again.
After 12 times, I'm like, I'm just gonna go with it. Maybe it'll be funny. Maybe it'll be like, you know what? He's boyishly charming. Let's do that. No, it didn't work. I don't have a very big YouTube channel.
But well, those are all my big questions. So the only thing I have for you though is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
You can find me on Spotify under Marcus Wells, Marcus with a K. I'm on iTunes. We've covered YouTube. If you go into my YouTube channel with low expectations, you will not be disappointed. But yeah, Spotify, iTunes, pretty much any digital media outlet. My stuff's up on there. I have all the Hollow Drive stuff hosted on there. I think there's some of the Eve to Adam stuff on there, some of the Screaming for Silence stuff on there. And then a lot of my solo stuff, which gets weird. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you start digging into that, some of that stuff gets really weird. I went to some really weird places with my solo stuff. I'm not sad about it. I'm not gonna apologize. Y'all deserved it. Making me be out on the road all those years, playing all those shows. This is what happens. You did this to yourselves.
It's a journey. Enjoy it.
Yes, enjoy it. It's a journey.
Bet. Well, there you have it. All right. So we got to wrap this up. We got to take this home. That's what we do. We take this home. So, like I said, this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Ancient Ring. And like I said, I am the man that leads you up this mountain, your Sherpa, Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right. But it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring, because you always have to have someone who's been there, done that, and does it better than you do. And so today in the ring, you see him right next to me. Marcus Wells is here, and we have a blast talking about everything under the sun. But you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you just wait till this episode ends. You wait for the outro, and then you select another episode.
Watch more. Watch all of them. Click on all of them.
3 Count Nation, if you love this clip, please give us a like, subscribe, click the bell, turn on your notifications. We love you. Please just turn the notifications on. We just want you to like us. That's it. I can't do this.